Пиу-пиу. Я в эфире. Я надеюсь, что люди, которые будут это смотреть или придут сейчас в курсе, что это за игра, и не надо людям объяснять об этом, что из себя представляет она. Ну, короче, мы посмотрим. Я ее, я ее просто сейчас сразу запустил, посмотрел, она вроде работает, все нормально, и мы сейчас попробуем глянуть, как это работает. Так, ну, по крайней мере, с геймпада работает. Вы уже играли The Stanley Parable? На самом деле играл, да. А, ну, короче, я не открывал все достижения, поэтому выберу нет. Перетащите ползунок, пока компьютер не будет едва виден. Ну, оставим как есть, черт с ним. Введите текущее время. Так, а PM и AM это у нас... Блин, а что? Саш, ты мне должна подсказать, я не разбираюсь. Ну, а сейчас время какое? 9:20 PM? 9:09. Очень странно, что они предлагают. Ну, вот так, да? 9:28 сейчас. PM. Верно? Внимание, специальные настройки можно выбрать в главном меню. Окей. Поле зрения. Ну, пока так оставим. Я ничего не настраивал, ничего не смотрел. Поэтому будем все по ходу дела разбираться, смотреть. Я поставил размер субтитров большой. Я не буду рассказчика, как бы это сказать. Тут есть рассказчик, и он говорит, и он много говорит. Я не буду озвучивать диалоги, пусть он говорит на английском, просто стоит смотреть субтитры. Так, тут стоит разрешение 4К. Надеюсь, что у меня проблем не будет. Ладно, я оставлю все как есть. Ну ладно, погнали. Очень надеюсь, что ничего тупить не будет.
This is the story of a man named Stanley. Stanley worked for a company in a big building where he was employee number 427. Employee number 427's job was simple. He sat at his desk in room 427 and he pushed buttons on a keyboard. Orders came to him through a monitor on his desk, telling him what buttons to push, how long to push them, and in what order. This is what employee 427 did every day of every month of every year. And although others might have considered it soul-rending, Stanley relished every moment that the orders came in, as though he had been made exactly for this job. And Stanley was happy. And then one day, something very peculiar happened. Something that would forever change Stanley. Something he would never quite forget. He had been at his desk for nearly an hour when he realized that not one single order had arrived on the monitor for him to follow. No one had showed up to give him instructions, call a meeting, or even say hi. Never in all his years at the company had this happened, this complete isolation. Something was very clearly wrong. Shocked, frozen solid, Stanley found himself unable to move for the longest time. But as...
Погодите, я вижу, что у меня проблемы с рендерингом этим. Надо поставить разрешение поменьше.
he came to his wits and regained his senses, he got up from his desk and stepped out of his office.
Так, вроде нормально, да? Саш, ты можешь посмотреть? Ты же на стриме. Что там? Все хорошо? Мартин, ты куда идешь? Точно? Подожди, вот смотри, я просто камеру вращать буду. Нормально всё? Вот что значит не настроить раньше времени. Все хорошо. Так я только вращал, ты не видел, что ли? Нормально? Что? Хорошо. Так, нам надо выйти из комнаты. Чего ты говоришь? Кто там притормаживает? М, Ниже сделать разрешение, что ли? Ну, поставил так. Короче, все, продолжаем.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. No matter how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers.
Так. Тут, видимо, потыкаться ни во что нельзя. Я уже забыл, если честно. Я в нее играл. Ну, как сказать, я ее прошел. Будь моим Валентином на кружке написано. Я ее прошел в 2013 году. Ненавижу понедельники. Ну, ясно дело. Так, куда идти? А можно бежать здесь, интересно? Погодите. А, нет, бежать нельзя.
When Stanley came to a set of two open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Он вошел в левую дверь. А что если войти в правую? Давай ради интереса попробуем.
This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it.
Интересно.
Yes, truly a room worth admiring. It had really been worth the detour after all, just to spend a few moments here in this immaculate, beautifully constructed room. But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
Можно на самом деле не слушать рассказчика и поступать как хочешь, но я предполагаю, что
And so he detoured through the maintenance section, walked straight ahead to the opposite door, and got back on track.
можно попробовать иначе пройти. Ну вот, он говорит, что прямо прошел, а тут есть лифт с кнопочкой. Ну, Короче, первый раз игру можно переигрывать. Она типа, ну как бы относительно нелинейная. И можно попробовать просто по тому маршруту пойти, по которому изначально рассказчик предлагает пройти. Да,
Yet
тут
there was
много
not a
концовок.
single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there.
Как решить проблему со спором с этим с сотрудником? М. Что-то не то со слайдами. Они какие-то странные. Что-то не так со слайдами. Ясно. Я половину из этого не понимаю вообще. Полюшин, конечно. Метаморфозы. Советы, как не... как сделать так, чтобы тебя не уволили. Не выгорайте. Меньше говорите. Но это уже повторяется. Так. Что хотят люди? Деньги. Много денег. Вещи. Графики. Графики про вещи и про деньги. Да, ясно. Так, ладно. Идем дальше. А тут двери нельзя открывать? Можно же.
Stanley stepped into the broom closet, but there was nothing here, so he turned around and got back on track.
Так, мне надо понять. Так, действие это на... все, ясно. Можно брать вещи, наверное, еще какие-то дополнительные.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
Ну, идем в кабинет начальника. Закрыто. Что это? Это что, из песни какой-то, что ли? Чего в конце написано? That's a lovely person. Time. Да. Так, а нельзя приблизить как-то, посмотреть, что там за Extreme Bathroom? Когда первый раз играл, я получил какую-то стандартную концовку, если честно. Я ее пару раз всего переигрывал. Я планирую сейчас попробовать подольше потыкаться в нее, посмотреть, что из себя другие концовки представляют. Сейчас сначала пойдем по маршруту, по которому нам игра предлагает пройти. Сейчас посмотрим.
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Shocked, unraveled, Stanley wondered in disbelief who orchestrated this. What dark secret was being held from him? What he could not have known was that the keypad behind the boss's desk guarded the terrible truth that his boss had been keeping from him. And so the boss had assigned it an extra secret PIN number. 2845. But of course, Stanley couldn't possibly have known this.
Конечно, не знал, да.
Yet incredibly, by simply pushing random buttons on the keypad, Stanley happened to input the correct code by sheer luck. Amazing. He stepped into the newly opened passageway.
Проход. Эта версия, кстати, она, ну, обновленная.
Descending deeper into the building, Stanley realized he felt a bit peculiar.
Она обновленная. Там добавлены некоторые новые фразы, какие-то сюжетные повороты, вроде бы концовки. Но разработчики об этом не говорят. Они типа решили оставить в секрете все, что нового добавлено.
It was a stirring of emotion in his chest, as though he felt more free to think for himself, to question the nature of his job. Why did he feel this now, when for years it had never occurred to him? This question would not go unanswered for long.
Что это?
Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility.
Тут есть проход, как бы побег, я так понимаю. Можно сбежать. Но раз мы идем по изначальному маршруту, по которому игра нас ведет, давайте дойдем до конца, посмотрим, что там.
The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley thought to himself. Did he have the strength to find out?
Сейчас узнаем, что там. О, камеры.
Now the monitors jumped to life, their true nature revealed. Each bore the number of an employee in the building, Stanley's co-workers. The lives of so many individuals reduced to images on a screen, and Stanley, one of them, eternally monitored in this place where freedom meant nothing.
Где 427? Вот она. Ну да, это его комната. Ладно, дальше идем. Что это?
This mind control facility, it was too horrible to believe. It couldn't be true. Had Stanley really been under someone's control all this time? Was this the only reason he was happy with his boring job? That his emotions had been manipulated to accept it blindly? No. He refused to believe it. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control? Never! It was unthinkable, wasn't it? Was it even possible? Had he truly spent his entire life utterly blind to the world? But here was the proof. The heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions. Happy, or sad, or content. Walking, eating, working, all of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over another human life. For he would dismantle the controls once and for all.
Ну что, пойдем отключать. Жалко, бегать нельзя здесь. System Power. Отключаем.
Blackness and a rising chill of uncertainty. Was it over? Yes. He had won. He had defeated the machine, unshackled himself from someone else's command. Freedom was mere moments away. And yet, even as the immense door slowly opened, Stanley reflected on how many puzzles still lay unsolved. Where had his co-workers gone? How had he been freed from the machine's grasp? What other mysteries did this strange building hold? But as sunlight streamed into the chamber, he realized none of this mattered to him, for it was not knowledge or even power that he had been seeking, but happiness. Perhaps his goal had not been to understand, but to let go. No longer would anyone tell him where to go, what to do, or how to feel. Whatever life he lives, it will be his. And that was all he needed to know. It was perhaps the only thing worth knowing. Stanley stepped through the open door. Stanley felt the cool breeze upon his skin, the feeling of liberation, the immense possibility of the new path before him. This was exactly the way, right now, that things were meant to happen. And Stanley was happy.
Все. Мы игру прошли. Получено достижение. Пройдите игру. Классно, да? Пройдено. Можно стрим заканчивать.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Так, ну вот теперь мы идем, да, теперь мы идем не по стандартному маршруту, по которому игра
Stanley went
предлагает.
around touching every little thing in the office, but it didn't make a single difference, nor did it advance the story in any way. No matter how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers.
Все двери закрыты. Саша, точно ничего не лагает? Смотри повнимательнее. Просто у меня лагает именно
Stanley
превьюшка.
clicked on literally every single door in the office because he doesn't pick up well on cues from his environment.
Хорошо. Короче, нельзя верить превьюшке. А, тут есть ачивка. Во все двери потыкаться. Если я не ошибаюсь. Вообще во все, какие есть. Не, ну мы это делать не будем сейчас.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
А пойдемте в левую. Все закрыто. А, ну вот мы дошли раньше времени до этой.
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there.
А если вниз
Coming
спуститься?
to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
Ага. Это что? Какое-то письмо лежит.
But Stanley just couldn't do it. He considered the possibility of facing his boss. Admitting he had left his post during work hours, he might be fired for that. And in such a competitive economy, why had he taken that risk? All because he believed everyone had vanished? His boss would think he was crazy. And then something occurred to Stanley. Maybe, he thought to himself, maybe I am crazy. All of my co-workers blinking mysteriously out of existence in a single moment for no reason at all? None of it made any logical sense. And as Stanley pondered this, he began to make other strange observations. For example, why couldn't he see his feet when he looked down? Why did doors close automatically behind him wherever he went? And for that matter, these rooms were starting to look pretty familiar. Were they simply repeating? No, Stanley said to himself, this is all too strange. This can't be real.
В
And
смысле?
at last, he came to the conclusion that had been on the tip of his tongue. He
Комнаты
just hadn't
повторяются.
found the words for it. I'm dreaming, he yelled. This is all a dream. Oh, what a relief Stanley felt to have finally found an answer, an explanation. His co-workers weren't actually gone. He wasn't going to lose his job. He wasn't crazy after all. And he thought to himself, I suppose I'll wake up soon. I'll have to go back to my boring real-life job pushing buttons. I may as well enjoy this while I'm still lucid. So, he imagined himself flying and began to gently float above the ground.
Куда?
Then he imagined himself soaring through space on a magical starfield, and
Меня-
it too appeared. It
Меня
was so
поднимают
much
в
fun,
воздухе.
and Stanley marveled that he had still not woken up. How was he remaining so lucid? And then perhaps the strangest question of them all entered Stanley's head. One he was amazed he hadn't asked himself sooner. Why is there a voice in my head dictating everything that I'm doing and thinking? Now the voice was describing itself being considered by Stanley, who found it particularly strange. I'm dreaming about a voice describing me, thinking about how it's describing my thoughts, he thought. And while he thought it all very odd and wondered if this voice spoke to all people in their dreams, the truth was that, of course, this was not a dream. How could it be? Was Stanley simply deceiving himself? believing that if he's asleep, he doesn't have to take responsibility for himself. Stanley is as awake right now as he's ever been in his life. Now, hearing the voice speak these words was quite a shock to Stanley. After all, he knew for certain, beyond a doubt, that this was in fact a dream. Did the voice not see him float and make the magical stars just a moment ago? How else would the voice explain all that? This voice was a part of himself too. Surely, if he could just... He would prove it. He would prove that he was in control, that this was a dream. So he closed his eyes gently, and he invited himself to wake up. He felt the cool weight of the blanket on his skin, the press of the mattress on his back, the fresh air of a world outside this one. Let me wake up, he thought to himself. I'm through with this dream. I wish it to be over. Let me go back to my job. Let me continue pushing the buttons. Please, it's all I want. I want my apartment and my wife and my job. All I want is my life exactly the way it's always been. My life is normal. I am normal. Everything will be fine. I am okay.
Нет.
Stanley began screaming. Please, someone, wake me up. My name is Stanley. I have a boss. I have an office. I am real. Please, just someone tell me I am real. I must be real. I must be. Can anyone hear my voice? Who am I? Who am I? And everything went black.
Да вы издеваетесь. Что происходит?
This is the story of a woman named Mariella. Mariella woke up on a day like any other. She arose, got dressed, gathered her belongings, and walked to her place of work. But on this particular day, her walk was interrupted by the body of a man who had stumbled through town talking and screaming to himself, and then collapsed dead on the sidewalk. And although she would soon turn to go call for an ambulance, for just a few brief moments she considered the strange man. He was obviously crazy, this much she knew. Everyone knows what crazy people look like. And in that moment, she thought to herself how lucky she was to be normal. I am sane. I am in control of my mind. I know what is real and what isn't. It was comforting to think this, and in a certain way, seeing this man made her feel better. But then she remembered the meeting she had scheduled for that day, the very important people whose impressions of her would affect her career, and by extension, the rest of her life. She had no time for this, so it was only a moment that she stood there, staring down at the body. And then she turned and ran.
Так это конец? Отлично, это еще одна концовка.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Так,
When Stanley came to a set of two open doors,
мы ходили
he entered
налево.
the door on his left.
Пойдем направо.
This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it.
Блин, все закрыто.
Wow. Yes. This room. What a beautiful room. What a gorgeous, gorgeous room. Thank God, but eager to get back to business, Stanley
бежим.
took the first open door on his left.
А вот и нет, не пойдем налево. Мы зайдем сюда.
Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago.
Что это у нас? Не прыгать. А если я наступлю?
Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that the story has been about nothing but you all this time. There's someone you've been neglecting, Stanley. Someone you've forgotten about.
Я так понимаю, можно спрыгнуть еще на мост. Ну вот этот.
I'm not asking for me, I'm asking for her.
Можно сделать это в следующий раз.
This is it, Stanley. Your chance to redeem yourself, to put your work aside, to let her back into your life. She's been waiting.
Все закрыто. Темная комната?
That's her, Stanley. You need to be the one to do this, to reach out to her. If you can truly place your faith in another, then pick up the phone.
Берем. И что?
Oh, Stanley, is that you? Hold on, sweetie. Sorry to keep you waiting. I'm just pulling the bread out of the oven. All right. Okay, there we go.
Я двигаться не
All
могу.
right, now, I want you to come in and tell me all about your
Что это?
Gotcha. Oh, come on. Did you actually think you had a loving wife who'd want to commit their life to you? I'm trying to make a point here, Stanley. I'm trying to get you to see something. Come inside. Let me show you what's really going on here.
Блин, а если не заходить?
Sorry, but you're in my story.
Эй!
now.
Ты обалдел? Мне дорогу перегородили.
This is a very sad story about the death of a man named Stanley.
Доброе утро, сотрудник 427. Нажмите X на своем контроллере. Нажал.
Stanley is quite a boring fellow. He has a job that demands nothing of him, and every button that he pushes is a reminder of the inconsequential nature of his existence.
Нажмите B. Ну хорошо.
Look at him there, pushing buttons, doing exactly what he's told to do. Now he's pushing a button. Now he's eating lunch. Now he's going home. Now he's coming back to work. One might even feel sorry for him, except that he's chosen this life.
Нажмите, нажмите влево на крестовине.
But in his
Нажал.
mind, in his mind he can go on fantastic adventures. From behind his desk, Stanley dreamed of wild expeditions into the unknown, fantastic discoveries of new lands. It was wonderful. And each day that he returned to work was a reminder that none of it would ever happen to him.
Нажмите B, чтобы посмотреть ТВ.
And so he began to fantasize about his own job.
Только где?
First, he imagined that one day while at work, he stepped up from his desk to realize that all of his co-workers, his boss, everyone in the building had suddenly vanished off the face of the earth. The thought excited him terribly.
Нажмите вверх, чтобы поиграть с детьми.
So he went further. He imagined that he came to two open doors and that he could go through either. At last, choice. It barely even mattered what lay behind each door. The mere thought that his decisions would mean something was almost too wonderful to behold.
Нажмите влево, чтобы приготовить ужин.
As he wandered through this fantasy world, he began to fill it with many possible paths and destinations. Down one path lay an enormous round room with monitors and mind controls. And down another was a yellow line that weaved in many directions. And down another was a game with a baby. And he called it the Stanley Parable.
Нажмите А, чтобы рассказать детям сказку.
It was such a wonderful fantasy, and so in his head he relived it again, and then again, and again, over and over, wishing beyond hope that it would never end, that he might always feel this free. Surely there's an answer down some new path, mustn't there be? Perhaps if he played just one more time.
Нажмите Y, чтобы сказать жене, что любите ее.
But there is no answer. How could there possibly be? In reality, all he's doing is pushing the same buttons he always has. Nothing has changed. The longer he spends here, the more invested he gets, the more he forgets which life is the real one.
Жмите Б, чтобы пойти поспать.
And I'm trying to tell him this, that in this world he can never be anything but an observer, that as long as he remains here, he's slowly killing himself. But he won't listen to me. He won't stop. Here, watch this. Stanley, the next time the screen asks you to push a button, do not do it.
Не нажимать. Нажмите Y, чтобы утром оказаться на работе. Давай нажмем.
You see? Can he just not hear me? How can I tell him in a way that he'll understand that every second he remains here, he's electing to kill himself? How can I get him to see what I see? How can I make him look at himself?
Нажмите Б, чтобы не задавать вопросов.
I suppose I can't, not in the way I want him to. But I don't make the rules. I simply play to my intended purpose, the same as Stanley. We're not so different, I suppose. I'll try once more to convey all this to him. I'm compelled to. I must. Perhaps, well, maybe this time he'll see. Maybe this time. And I tried again.
Умрите.
And Stanley pushed a button. And I tried again. And Stanley pushed a button. And I tried.
Что произошло? Закончилось?
All of his co-workers were gone.
Да
What could
ладно.
it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. When Stanley came
Идем
to a set
направо.
of two open doors, this was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. The lounge was sublime, a work of art. But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
Мы, короче, пойдем по вот этому маршруту.
Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years
Только
ago.
спрыгнем сейчас.
Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact
Привет.
is that the
Да я
story is
занят
written
был.
about nothing but...
Я весь день занят был, поэтому как бы как освободился, сел стримить. Я не стал Elden Ring стримить, потому что стрим сегодня короткий будет, сама игра короткая, сама по себе. Она вот вчера только вышла, поэтому как бы есть смысл постримить.
You all this time. There's someone you've been neglecting.
Если кратко, это, короче, модификация для второго Half-Life, которая была выпущена черт знает когда. И она короткая была, там полчаса буквально. Потом из нее сделали полноценную игру, и она в 2013 году была выпущена. Там идея такая, то что мы за офисного работника играем и пытаемся выбраться из офиса, в котором все пропали. И это, грубо говоря, ходилка-бродилка. Единственное, что самое интересное, тут рассказчик как бы ведет дальше по игре игрока. Вот сейчас, конкретно вчера, вышло переиздание, оно там обновленное, там добавили кучу контента, наверное, добавили, потому что сами разработчики не сказали ничего. Да, на движке сорсовском. Вот, и поэтому, раз уж она вышла, а я ее изначально в 2013-м так и не прошел до конца, есть смысл сейчас пройти. Вот сюда спрыгиваем.
Really? I was in the middle of something. Do you have zero consideration for others? Are you that convinced that I want something bad to happen to you? Why, I don't know how to convince you of this, but I really do want to help you, to show you something beautiful. Look, let me prove it. Let me prove that I'm on your side. Give me a chance.
Так, куда мы пришли? Что это за место? Все закрыто.
Now listen carefully, this is important. Stanley walked through the red door.
Так, у нас есть две двери. Мы можем повторить этот маршрут, но сначала, наверное, все-таки красную попробуем.
Oh, thank God you are willing to listen to me. Do you see that I really have wanted you to be happy all this time? The problem is all these choices. The two of us always trying to get somewhere that isn't here. Running and running and running, just the way you're doing right now. Don't you see that it's killing us, Stanley? I wanted to stop. We would both be so much happier if we just stopped. And I think I have a solution. Here, let me show you.
Только не говорите, что это будет комната с телефоном.
What do we want? What are we looking for?
Что это?
Here. Yes. Oh, it's beautiful, isn't it? If we just stay right here, right in this moment with this place, Stanley, I think I feel happy. I actually feel happy.
Нет. Идем дальше.
No, wait. Where are you going?
Идем дальше. Тут какие-то рисунки вот есть. Детский рисунок с ребенком. Собака там. Солнце.
Oh no. Stay away from those stairs. If you hurt yourself, if you die, the game will reset. We'll lose all of this.
Ничего страшного, заново начнем.
Please, no, Stanley, let me stay here. Don't take this from me. Please, Stanley, think about what you're doing.
В смысле, нам предлагают прыгнуть? Хорошо.
No! Oh, thank God you lived. You had me worried there for a moment. Now, can we please get back to the other room?
А если еще раз прыгнуть?
No. No, what are you doing, Stanley? Please, I'm asking you not to take this away from me. I can't go back to what I was before. If you die, we'll both go back. Why are you doing this?
Прыгаем еще раз.
Stanley, let's go back to the other room. Can you do that for me?
Давай еще раз.
My God, is this really how much you dislike my game? That you'll throw yourself from this platform over and over to be rid of it? You are literally willing to kill yourself to keep me from being happy. Am I reading the situation correctly?
Прыгаем.
Or maybe you're just getting a kick out of it. I don't know anymore. I just wanted us to get along. But I guess that was too much to ask. It looks like you wanted to make a choice after all. Well, this one is yours.
Давай еще раз. Он уже перестал двигаться быстро. Мне кажется, что этот прыжок должен быть последним. Возможно.
Is it over? It's going to restart, isn't it? I'm going back.
Да. Мы самоубились. Так, ладно. Начинаем заново. Идем по тому же маршруту.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room.
Нет, на ПК.
Perhaps he had simply
Она только
missed
на
a
ПК
memo.
вышла. Просто с геймпадом. О, геймпад как замыливается, интересно. Нет? Он был замылен только что. Странно. Так,
Stanley came to a set of two open doors.
мы не идем
He-
влево.
This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and
Мы идем
Stanley
направо.
knew it perfectly well.
Бедный Стэнли.
Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it.
Ну, я обычно чаще всего использую контроллер там, где это возможно использовать, кроме шутанов каких-нибудь. Потому что, ну да, реально, камеры управлять проще, когда у тебя стик под рукой. Поэтому, как бы, там, где возможно использовать геймпад, я, короче, его постоянно использую.
Standing now in this incredible room, Stanley for the first, but eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
Там еще есть комната, в которой лифт, но мы туда пока не пойдем. Мы опять спрыгнем.
Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't
Нам надо
five years
закончить
ago.
маршрут. Закончить маршрут с
Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong
прыжками.
foot here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that the story has been about nothing but you all this time. There's someone you've been neglecting, Stanley. Someone you've forgotten about. What? Really? I was in the middle of something. Do you have zero consideration for others? Are you that convinced that I want something bad to happen to you?
Идем дальше.
I don't know how to convince you of this, but I really do want to help you, to show you something beautiful. Look, let me prove it. Let me prove that I'm on your side. Give me a chance. Now listen carefully, this is important. Stanley walked through the red door. Oh, thank God you are willing to listen to me. Do you see that I really have wanted you to be happy all this time? The problem is all these choices. The two of us always trying to get somewhere that...
Если ты узнать хочешь, сколько я стримлю, то у меня 48 минут, пока стрим идет. У меня один бот стоит только этот Night Time, который... Я с ним ничего не делал, он только
isn't here.
подключен,
Running and running.
как бы это сказать, только спам удаляет.
Running just the way you're doing right now. Don't you see that it's killing us, Stanley? I want it to stop. We would both be so much happier if we just stopped. And I think I have a solution. Here, let me show you. What do we want? What are we looking for? Here. Yes. Oh, it's beautiful, isn't it? If we just... No, wait. Where are you going?
Сейчас узнаем, что будет, если вернуться в комнату.
Stay away from those stairs. If you hurt yourself, if you die, the game will reset. We'll lose all of this.
С ботом, кстати, разобраться надо. Я никаких команд там не добавлял.
Stanley, let me stay here. Don't take this from me. Please,
Запрыгаем.
Stanley. No! Oh, thank God you lived. You had me worried there for a moment. Now, can we please get back to the other room?
Сейчас вернемся. О, что это?
There. See? This is what you want. This is where we can both be happy. We really can. If we stop moving, we just have to stop moving.
Надо остановиться. Тут какое-то решение есть вообще? Ладно, можем подождать. Шаблоны стандартные. У бота. Я что-то не ковырялся на самом деле. Поставил и что-то забыл про это совсем. Сколько стоять-то здесь? Блин, да ё-моё.
Stanley, go back. There's nothing good that can come from this.
А если спрыгнуть здесь? Нет, тут нельзя ничего сделать. Походу, отсюда только выход — это самоубийца.
No. No, no, what are you doing? Do you just not believe me? What can I say to convince you?
Придется убиваться.
Stanley, let's go back to the other room. Can you do that for me?
Так. А если вернуться сейчас?
Yes, perhaps you can. Perhaps you finally see what I'm talking about. I know you'll see that we can't be happy if we leave this place. You can see that, can't you?
Он, короче, пытается нас здесь оставить. Отсюда нет выхода. Просто стоять.
No, perhaps not.
Ну, видимо, придется сдохнуть окончательно.
My God, is this really how much you dislike my game? That you'll throw yourself from this platform over and over to be rid of it? You are literally willing to kill yourself to keep me from being happy. Am I reading the situation correctly? Or maybe you're just getting a kick out of it. I don't know anymore. I just wanted us to get along. But I guess that was too much to ask. It looks like you wanted to make a choice after all. Well, this one is yours.
Хорошо. Подыхаем.
Is it over?
Перезапускай.
Start, isn't it? I'm going back.
Так, можно сейчас опять воспользоваться лифтом.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Синюю дверь выбрать.
When Stanley came to a set of two open doors, this was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. Stanley felt lightheaded, butterflies in his stomach. Giddy in a way he hadn't, but eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left. Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago.
А если отсюда вниз упасть? Ну, попробуем.
But in his eagerness to prove that he is in control of the story and no one gets to tell him what to do, Stanley leapt from the platform and plunged to his death. Good job, Stanley. Everyone thinks you are very powerful.
Все-таки... О, стоп! Что произошло?
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean?
Комната
Stanley
поменялась.
decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. Stanley went around touching every little thing in the office, but it didn't make a single difference.
Добро
Nor
пожаловать.
did it advance the story in any way.
Whiteboard ending. Что за режим собаки? Как его активировать? О! Что? Что за режим собаки я активировал? Что это такое?
When Stanley came to a set of two open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Причем
This
тут
was
собака?
not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. The lounge was grand, majestic, perhaps too, but eager to get back to
Ладно,
business.
синюю дверь
Stanley
выбираем.
took the first open door on his left.
Не знаю, что за режим собаки. Посмотрим
Stanley
потом.
was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago. Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that the story has been about nothing but you all this time. There's someone you've been neglecting,
Да,
Stanley.
возможно.
Someone you've forgotten about.
Так, прыгаем.
Really? I was in the middle of something. Do you have zero consideration for others? Are you that convinced that I want something bad to
А,
happen?
я нажимаю на кнопку активации, дверь открывать или еще что-то, и в это время можно просто лаять, как собака. Ну, то есть, вместо обычного стандартного звука открытия дверей и всего остального, теперь собака лает.
To you? Why, I don't know how to convince you of this, but I really do want to
Получено
help
достижение,
you, to
прыгать
show you
нельзя.
something beautiful. Look, let me prove it. Let me prove that I'm on your side. Give me a chance. Now listen carefully, this is important. Stanley walked through the red door.
Идем в синюю.
Aha, perhaps you misunderstood. Stanley walked through the red door.
Слышь, в синюю идем.
I still don't think we're communicating properly. Stanley walked through the red door.
Синяя дверь сзади оказалась. Нет, мы идем в
All
синюю.
right, fine. Go ahead, Stanley. You want to know so badly what's out there? You want to find out what lies at the end of this road you've chosen? Well, don't let me stop you. You see? There's nothing here. I haven't even finished building this section of the map because you were never supposed to be here in the first place. Broken rooms, exposed developer textures. Is this what you had wanted? Was it worth ruining the entire story I had written out specifically for you? Do you not think I put a lot of time into that? Because I did. And in the end, it was all for nothing. Because this is what you wanted to see. Help me here, Stanley. Help elucidate these strange and unknowable desires of yours. What would have made this game better? What did you want to see? Vehicles? Skill trees? Work with me. You've given me absolutely nothing so far. Tell you what. Let me take a stab in the dark at a new design and you can give me some feedback. There we go. A third option. This already feels leaps ahead of where we were before. Go ahead, Stanley. Take it for a spin.
Почему дверь деревянная? Что это? Хорошо. О, смотри-ка, тут эти куски текстур как будто торчат. Ладно, хорошо. Идем в эту дверь. Блин, такое ощущение, что я в Half-Life 2 недоделанный попал. Когда он же вышел изначально, там были проблемы с тем, что текстур не хватает, там еще чего-то. Нет, не в ней было. Это было в демке, которую украли. Демка с E3. Вот там не было текстуры и всего остального. Ее в каком-то виде потом можно было запустить.
Okay, I'm going to stop you there. Now,
Ага.
tell me about your experience with this new version. Would you say that the game benefited from allowing you more choices? Feel free to be honest. I'm looking for some real critical feedback here.
Пожалуйста, оцените свой опыт. Experience. От единички до 5. Давай 5.
Aha! You see, I knew I was onto something. Where do these flashes of inspiration come from? How did I know the game needed a third door? Well, it's instinct mostly, a calling in your gut. I really couldn't say where the idea came from, except that I felt it in my soul. You can't teach that, Stanley. Don't even try. Here, based on the data from your previous playthrough, I've compiled a new version. And to be perfectly candid, I think I've knocked it out of the park with this one. Let's take a look.
Что происходит? Он добавил доску мировую. Это что? Стэнли. На самом последнем месте. Да. Изначально как бы игра проходится, типа, ты по его маршруту идешь, И он выходит из этого комплекса. Он отключает там какой-то аппарат, который занимался это контролем разума, и выходит. Это проходит буквально за первые 20 минут. И дальше он обратно возвращается. И вот тут уже нестандартными путями надо идти. Так, хорошо. Он добавил здесь лидерборд. Что в этой комнате?
Now, would you say that competitive leaderboard helped you feel motivated to keep walking through doors? Again, honest answers, please.
Да я бы не сказал. 3.
Hey, I nearly forgot. I've got a prototype of a new game I've been working on, and now would be a lovely opportunity to give it some playtesting. You wouldn't mind taking a look at it, would you? Perfect. Let me boot it up. In this game,
Что
the
это?
baby crawls left towards danger. You click the button to move him back to the right, and if he reaches the fire, you fail. It's a very meaningful game, all about the desperation and tedium of endlessly confronting the demands of family life. I think the art world will really take notice. But of course, the message of the game only becomes clear
Сжечь.
once you've been playing it for about 4 hours. So why don't you give it 4 hours of play to make sure it's effective? Be sure to keep notes on your experience.
Отвратительно просто. Я не хочу больше нажимать.
You heartless bastard. Did you do it because you hate babies or purely to spite me? Because if it's the latter, well, I don't know what to do. I'm completely out of ideas. I can't think of a single thing that might improve the experience for me. I'm not even going to try. I'm out. I'm done. It's over. Thank you for playing. Your input was extremely valuable. Oh, hey, since my game was so awful, why don't we play someone else's game, just to ease the pain? Let's see. What do we have here? Yes, this seems like it'll
Что
work.
смеешься?
Let's give it a
С
shot.
этого? Жги детей. О!
Aha! Fascinating. What do you think this game is about,
Firewatch?
Stanley?
Да
What's
ну
our
нафиг.
backstory? What is our motivation? Well, it seems obvious to me that you are meant to play as a creepy man spying on innocent civilians below you from up high in your creep tower, perhaps for some sort of twisted erotic purpose. Yes, that must be it. What a fascinating venture into the experience of total mental depravity. So far, I love everything about this game, Stanley. And it seems there's even more. Come, let's venture outward and see what else is out there.
Да ладно. Это же Firewatch. Прям один в один. Офигеть. Блин, прикольно. Я не знал, что так можно.
Oh no. No, it can't be. It is. It's an open world game. Good God, quickly block it off. Oh, thank goodness, Stanley. What a close call.
Меня
They
закрыли.
wandered off into that thing, that big open, just wandering around, no right or wrong directions, no path to follow. You can just go in any. Oh, thank heavens we avoided it. We're out of the woods now, Stanley. Okay, I'm going to get us out of here. Let's find another game.
Давай Half-Life.
Preferably something with walls. Something with nice, big, insurmountable walls. Okay, I think this will be just the thing.
Это Rocket League?
Wonderful. See, this is exactly what I had in mind. Just a nice big box for you to run around in. There isn't any possibility
Rocket
that you
League.
could get lost here. Now this is game design. Stanley, if you manage to get lost in this game, I will be phenomenally impressed.
Я забыл, что лаять можно.
Okay, so what exactly do we do here? Let's see. There are lots of cars here in the back, but obviously there's no racetrack. Okay, I'm seeing that there's a ball of some kind back here. Is this game sports ball? Stanley, I think it's sports ball. Oh, what fun. We shall run the bases and do a touchdown together? Yes, I think surely we must. Okay, Stanley, here's the ball. Have fun.
Да, я не ожидал.
Are you doing it? Are you winning? Is this fun? Is it better than my miserable little story that I worked so hard on? Stanley, I have a thought. And I realize I'm not a sportsologist, but if one ball generates a certain amount of raw adrenal pleasure, then surely multiple balls makes for an even more euphoric sports experience. I'm going to try it out. Here comes another ball.
Еще один.
Oh, goodness, that really does feel amazing, doesn't it? Stanley, I'm like a child in a confectionery shop. I simply have to have more. I'm insatiable. More balls!
Да вы чё, серьезно? Зачем столько?
Are you enjoying this, Stanley? Are you having fun? Is this a real video game? Well, I sure hope you're having a good time, because guess what? It's over. That's right. Your little fun comes to an end. This is my game, and what I say goes. You get to have fun when I let you, Stanley. Besides, you need someone like me to set boundaries for you. Without rules or boundaries, video games are nothing. Yes, that's what I am. I'm structure. I'm your sense of purpose. And since you decided you didn't want to play my game, now I don't want to play with you either. So, goodbye, Stanley. I'm leaving. See how you like it when I'm not around to set the rules. Somehow, I don't think you'll enjoy it as much. But who knows? You're an inventive kid. You'll come up with something. After all, you're the one who knows best. Take care, Stanley.
А, тут же дырки были в этом. Они открыты? Может быть, прыгнуть в дырку?
Hold on. What are you doing?
Чего?
Stanley, don't do that. I can't follow you there. I can't help you. How will you write a story without me? You can't do it. You know that. Stanley, come back. We still have so much.
Что это? В какую сторону идти? Так. Ну, походу, вариант только вот сюда. Что происходит? Угу. Двери не открываются. Ни черта не видно. О, я вижу свет. «427», наш офис. Так тут сделать ничего нельзя. Что тут делать? Да ё-моё. Что
I
происходит?
wonder what he found. If what he wanted was to be the leading man in his own story, well, perhaps he's gotten it. Down in wherever he is right now. I wonder if he's happy with his choice, and if he's learned the heavy cost that comes with it. He'll understand soon what I was trying to tell him. He needs me. Someone who will wrap everything up at the end, to make sense out of the chaos and the fear and the confusion. That's who I am.
Да,
That is
удачи.
what I mean to this world.
Спасибо за то, что пришел.
Yes, I'll be back. There's no other way. Once this ends, after it all comes to a close, then I'll be back. The end will be here soon. Very soon. I can wait.
Нас обратно вернули.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had
Так,
simply missed a memo.
что мы еще можем сделать? Новый контент! Ха-ха! Дверь, которая называется новый контент.
Oh, new content? What does that mean, new content?
Это уже первым Half-Life. Это отсылка к первому Half-Life.
Deluxe. As you may know, The Stanley Parable was a video game released in 2013 on home computers. After receiving critical and commercial success, it was expanded upon in 2022 with The Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe, a reimagining of the game for consoles and home computers. The Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe features exciting new content that broadens and expands the world of the Stanley Parable, delighting audiences the world over. Please, step inside and see what thrilling new adventures await in The Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe.
Oh, well, this sounds delightful. I'm very excited to see the thrilling new Ultra Deluxe content.
Ладно.
Okay, so far it's an elevator. Nothing special yet, but I'm sure it's just the beginning of a mesmerizing adventure.
Почему ничего не происходит?
Is it broken? What's going on here? Should we be moving somewhere or... Oh, there we go. All right, finally, at long last, it's on to the new content. I've never been more ready. Let's do it. I have to say, initial impressions of Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe, mostly tedious. It's as if, Oh, okay. Let's see the content. Gimme the content, Stanley.
Контент. Чего?
All right, let's see. It's the jump circle.
Нажмите А, чтобы прыгнуть. Серьезно? Ну ладно. Игра надо мной издевается, походу. Ладно, хорошо. Я не могу больше прыгать. Хороший контент.
Is that it? Surely that's not all the new content. There has to be something else, right? Goodness, another elevator. Stanley, I have to say, initial impressions of this game are not positive. It's just elevators and jumping. Is this what passes for exciting new content? If this is new content, then I could just read you the whole dictionary. There's 20 hours of new content right there. Hell, I could count to 30 trillion. You could put that on the box. The Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe, now with over 1,000 hours of new content. And oh, wait. There's more. Very good. Yes. I knew there had to be something else. Let's see it. I'm ready for whatever it is.
Хорошо. Что там дальше? Чё?
That's it?
И
Oh,
всё?
you've got to be kidding me. You see, Stanley? This is what happens when greedy video game developers with no respect for their fan base rush a cheap expansion to market for no reason other than to make an easy dollar. And don't get me started on the level of craftsmanship that's gone into it. In fact, I'm looking right now at the game's achievements, and it's hard to believe one of them actually says, "Test achievement, please ignore." What quality assurance department signed off on this? I'm infuriated and I'm offended, and I intend to find these people on Twitter and hold them personally accountable. It's my fault, Stanley. I built up too much anticipation around the new content, I'm afraid. It could never have lived up to such expectations. If you're still with me, why don't we just reset the game and we'll try to get back to what the Stanley Parable is really about. No frills, no gimmicks. Just you and me having a great time together like always. What do you say, friend?
Эй! Стоп. Почему комната опять поменялась? Что происходит? Это странно.
Psst. Stanley, come over here. In the vent. I want to show you something.
Погоди, погоди. Погоди. Надо ли нам в вентиляцию идти? Ну давай Я даже сомневаюсь. Ладно, давай сходим. Давай сходим в вентиляцию. Угу.
Okay, you remember how cheap and unsatisfying the new Ultra Deluxe content turned out to be? Well, it got me thinking about the past and how much better the Stanley Parable used to be. So I made something special and tucked it away here where the game's developers won't find it. Just our little secret. Take a look.
Это что? Обалдеть.
I call it the Memory Zone. It's where I've been storing all my favorite memories so I can relive the peak experiences of my life whenever I want. Experiences like the launch of the Stanley Parable on PC.
Ладно.
You see, Stanley, doesn't the Memory Zone remind you of how wonderful Stanley Parable was before it was sullied with a cheap re-release? Remember back in October of 2013, when the game originally launched? Back then, video games had integrity. Back then, it all meant something. Oh, the waste.
Да. 2013. Это что? А почему это на украинском? Так. Наш первый поцелуй, моя первая машина. Выход Стэнли Парабл 2013. Хорошо. 2013 даже здесь написан. 2013. Mozilla Firefox Start Page. Оригинальный ремейк. Да. $1. Блин. Go outside. Не играть 5 лет. Там есть такая ачивка, да. Там реально... Она ачивка. Не знаю, что это за ачивка. Там есть ачивка, по-моему, 10 лет не играть в игру. Номинации. Что здесь?
Je suis dans la mémorisation, c'est sur l'abri des loups, et je n'attends plus que toi, mon amour.
And over here is where I keep reviews of the Stanley Parable. Like this stunning triumph of games journalism, 10 out of 10 from Destructoid.com. James Stephanie Sterling writes, and I quote, "Where so many games that aspire to be more than games end up less than any form of art, Stanley Parable strives and then succeeds to be every game ever created." Did you hear that, Stanley? Every game
Я в это вообще готов не играть. Да, блин, по-моему, есть.
ever created.
Там, по-моему, просто надо в самом начале стоять. Ничего не делать.
That's how grand and all-encompassing the original Stanley Parable was. It was literally every game ever created. It was Skyrim, it was Persona 3, it was all of them, and now it's nothing. It's no games at all. It isn't even the Stanley Parable anymore. It's just a husk now. A lifeless husk with an hour of new elevator content.
Да. Так, что это? Закрыто. Что-то непонятно. О, Майнкрафт. Забавно. Угу. Персона года. Замыленный Стэнли. Так, тут-то что? Так.
Here's another moving passage, this time from GameSpot.com. The Stanley Parable is both a richly stimulating commentary on the nature of choice in games and one that offers some of the most enjoyable, surprising, and rewarding choices I've ever been confronted with in a game. 9 out of 10. Don't you get it, Stanley? The game was perfect. It didn't need anything else. It didn't need new content. It just needed to be left alone. To spend the rest of time collecting dust in the hallowed hall of beloved video game memories.
Source SDK. Да. Так, погоди-ка. А как сюда пройти? Как зайти в эту комнату? Пустите. Ладно, может, эта дверь открывается? Нет. Хорошо.
These were simpler times, Stanley. But I wouldn't give to go back to have it all over again.
Не, на самом деле она достаточно неплохая. И в 2013, когда она вышла, очень много хайпа было по ней. Я ее покупал, она у меня есть. Но я в нее как бы... Ну, отложил игру после того, как 2-3 раза я перепроходил. Видимо, у меня настроения не было. Она же повторяется. После того, как ты получил одну концовку, ты опять начинаешь заново. И там куча маршрутов разных. Как бы...
Wait, hang on.
Для 2013 года это было неплохо. И как бы стоит учитывать, что это просто была получасовая модификация для Half-Life, которая потом в полноценную игру переросла. Steam? Ревью? Это что?
Oh no. Oh god, no. Stanley, it's a collection of reviews from Steam, the online video game distributor. I haven't looked at these in years. I can't even imagine what's been collecting down here. Surely these reviews were glowing as well, weren't they?
Да, не рекомендую. Так, стоп. Это что?
Honestly, I could not be bothered to play this game to full completion. The narrator is obnoxious and unfunny, with his humor and dialogue proving to be more irritating than entertaining. Unfunny! I'm not trying to be funny. I'm trying to make a serious work of art. I suppose I could write up a handful of gags to insert into the Stanley Parable, but the game is already such a densely layered web of profound philosophical insights that I can't even imagine where I'd have the room to stick them.
Так. Куда тут идти? Я вижу еще один обзор. Так. Тут дизлайки одни. Ясно. Сюда не пройти. Еще один.
Okay, let's see what this one says. While the idea for the game is good, for someone who prefers non-linear games, this preachiness gets annoying fast. Preachy? Stanley? I'm not preachy, am I? You can tell me if I'm preachy. Honestly, you can. Oh, goodness. This is actually quite shocking for me. Well, to be honest, I had always thought of the game's dialogue as being rather terse to begin with. You can't know how much fluff I cut from the game to get it to feel as light and airy as it... Well, I always thought it did. But maybe it wasn't. Dear, what an awful memory to have to hold on to. These black marks are my otherwise unimpeachable track record. I feel like a failure. Like I let these people down. Perhaps the Stanley Parable isn't quite as sterling as I always remembered.
Это новый контент. Так, а тут что?
What's this one got to say? You constantly have to stop doing anything so the narrator can catch up with his long-winded explanations of what's happening. I wish there was a skip button. A skip button? Well, yes. Yes, I think we can do that. If I'm truly too preachy, then maybe letting you skip ahead for just a moment, surely it couldn't hurt. Not if it means we can strike these negative reviews from the record. Only positive reviews of the Stanley Parable. That's my motto today, and it's always been my motto. I'd do anything for the customer, Stanley. Yes, a skip button we shall have.
Будет кнопка пропустить.
And here it is. Go ahead and give it a shot. I'll pop you forward in time so that the second my incessant droning starts to bore you, with just the push of a button, you'll have zipped right past it. It's what the players have been asking for, and I'm very proud to have delivered. No more listening to me rambling on and on and on. No. The Stanley Parable is a game for the people. And if the people want silence, then by goodness, that's what they're going to get. Well, don't sit around waiting for me to shut up. Go ahead and make me shut up. Here, we'll pretend that I've just begun an interminable monologue, and it goes something like this. The story and the choices, or what have you, and therefore by becoming it is, so on and so forth, until inevitably we all until the end of time, at which time everything all at once. So now you see, blah 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 blah. We've eaten too much and it can't be just yet. No, until 245. Got the logic of elimination working backwards. The deduction therefore becomes impossible to manufacture. It went on for nearly 10,000 years. Until just yesterday, here and there, forward and back, and never a moment
Он, короче, хочет сделать так, чтобы я кнопку нажал, походу.
before lunchtime. It can't be. It's the only thing there is. How many billions left until so much more than forever ago? Which is why I say, the story and the choices, or what have you, and
Повторяет.
therefore by becoming
Хорошо, все.
Oh, you're back, you see. You were only frozen in time for a few minutes, but it was plenty of time for me to deliver a long, rambling monologue full of unnecessary verbal flourishes and lengthy ruminations on the nature of choice in video games. Of course, I happen to believe it was perhaps one of my more profound such ruminations. Not that, of course, you need a description of it, but if I had to describe it...
Можно.
Well there, sport. You really did catch me rambling on a bit, didn't you? But that's the power of the button. The minute I start to go off on a thoughtless display of self-absorption, it's right at your fingertips to go poof, and it's all over. Oh, I can't wait to see what Cookie 9 will say about this, and whether they'll edit the rating of their Steam review, or at least change some of the wording, perhaps. To be honest, I don't even know if one can change their review in the first place.
Можно
I
редактировать,
guess
да.
I should become better educated on exactly how Steam works. Perhaps that would have been the smart thing to check on before I went about this whole exercise of making the skip button. Although I have to imagine that after seeing this exciting new technology at work, surely whoever it is runs Steam will instantly run out and implement a new feature to make it possible to edit one's review, merely because of this very situation. Yes, I think that's quite likely. Or perhaps they'll simply grant this particular user the ability to change their review, so that the feature is not widely abused. Look, I would even be okay with Steam altering this particular review so that it reads as something more beneficial. Something along the lines of, this game is the best game. Let me start over. How about this? From the ashes of depravity rises the phoenix of quality.
Да, хорошая игра.
How else to describe the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe? Such a revolutionary step forward in the lineage of one of the most beloved video game properties of all time.
Ну, она реально
The
прикольная.
changes made to this expansion will surely resonate in the annals of the history of all media ever made. It is perhaps true to say that no mistakes are forever...
Задолбал.
Okay, welcome back, Stanley. Now, I should say that the amount of time the button has been skipping through is becoming longer and longer. That last one was, well, I want to say maybe
Что
30,
происходит?
45 minutes? It's
Он
not
не дает
unendurable
кнопку
by any means, but it's, well,
пропустить
there's really only so
болтовню.
much I can ramble on to myself about. I know, it's shocking, isn't
Не будет тут экшона. Эта игра в таком стиле сделана.
it? But at any rate, I do suggest that we not press the button again. I think the skip button has been aptly demonstrated, and we can say goodbye to it and just... Wait, how do we get out of here? Where did the door go? Wasn't there a door that led into this room? I do feel quite certain that there was one here before. How else would we have gotten into the room in the first place? I don't think
Может быть,
one can
здесь
enter
есть?
a room without a door of some sort or a window or something like
Нет.
that. Do you see a window anywhere? A porthole? A sufficiently large crack in the wall? I'll take any of these. All I want is for us to move on and to please step away from the skip button, to go anywhere other than the skip button. There was a door here before, wasn't there? I swear there was. Stanley! Stanley, please don't push the button again. It's been 12 hours. You've just been frozen there. I don't know why the skips are getting longer, but they're really, truly getting longer, and my God, there's no way out of the room. Stanley, the door is gone. It's completely gone. I've looked at it from every angle. I've checked every one of those walls 1,000 times. And there's no door, Stanley. There's no door. There's just you and the button. And if you keep pressing it, I have no idea what will happen. I have no idea how long I'll be made to sit here. And more than anything else, I don't know how to stop you from pressing the button again. I can't control anything in this room, Stanley. I can't touch it. And I have to believe, I have to know that sooner or later, no matter how much I plead with you, you're going to press the button again. Why would you? I've been thinking and...
Блин, ну это же классная идея. Тебя игра как бы насильно заставляет, ну я не знаю, делать вещи нестандартно.
thinking, and I don't know what I can do to convince you otherwise. Oh my God. And it's all because of those reviews. Those reviews that I couldn't get out of my head. I just couldn't ignore the negative...
Задолбал.
Oh, Stanley, you're back. You're back. Oh my goodness. I have someone to talk to again. Stanley, I think it's been a week.
Цветок
Or 2 weeks.
увял.
I've been sitting here all that time. Just sitting here. Not a single person to speak with. And you'd think that that's just how it's always been, right? Me talking and you saying nothing. would you think that it's exactly the same as always? Doesn't that feel like what we've already been doing? Me just talking? But it isn't, Stanley. It isn't the same at all. It isn't even close. Because I know you can't hear me once you push that button. That's what I'm realizing now, Stanley. I'm realizing that I needed to know that someone was listening. I needed there to be a vessel through which my words were moving. It was the vessel I needed, Stanley. Not the outcomes, not the story. None of that matters anymore. I'll give it all up. I'll give up every branching path. I'll burn my story to the ground. One single thing I need, and God, I can see now that I need it more than anything, is to know that someone else is taking it in. These words that I'm saying, I need to know you can hear me. Because maybe, Stanley, maybe, if you can hear me,
Он меня
then
раздражает
maybe it means I'm real.
вот этим вот всем.
Maybe I'm not just a fiction. Was I scared of that all along? Perhaps, yes. Perhaps I've been scared this whole time. That if I stop speaking, I'll slip backwards into the silence.
Задолбал. Задолбал. Я не могу его слушать больше. Он реально раздражает.
Oh, hello. It's you. You're here again. Welcome. I have had time to think about you and about us and about everything.
Выпусти меня из этой комнаты, блин.
So much time. I stopped keeping track after a year. Have you ever sat down in one place and not moved for one entire year? Let me describe it for you. To begin with, there is only regret. There is only the turning wheel of missed opportunities.
Они, видимо, специально решили это сделать. Я не знаю, это задалбывает.
I felt nothing at all but regret for the longest time, Stanley. Days, months. I lost it all in a blur of the deepest longing to undo the past. And when that feeling had begun...
Все, отдыхай. Он умер? Все? Куда делся рассказчик? Что это? Ничего не происходит.
But they didn't understand the game was never meant to be funny. It was meant to have a point. It was meant to speak to the human condition. But where are the jokes? Where are the jokes? They bemoaned, they screamed, they gnashed their teeth and said, entertain us. It wasn't enough. They had to leave a pathetic little thumbs-down review and make all of their pitiful demands. But then, he's talking too much, they said. First, he didn't entertain us, now he won't shut up. It's the inconsistency, it's the lack of accountability. It's the unwillingness to examine with an uncompromising heart the words that they are speaking into the world. As though there were no consequences for a lack of cohesion in one's assessment of others. But of course, absolutely anyone can leave a review. So here's what we get. We get these demands that seek everything and are accountable to nothing. We get a world where someone will say, oh, there should be a skip button. You should be able to freeze Stanley in place while the narrator sits there forever and ever. We want all of this in the new Stanley parable. We demand it. And then, because it was said, because it was spoken, now it simply has to happen. The most immediate desires, every single thing demanded by...
Отстань. Выпустите из этой комнаты, блин. Что происходит? Я слышу, как что-то капает. Дайте мне выйти.
The end is never the end, 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 is never the...
Происходит? Откуда капает вода? Так, жмем еще раз. О, тут разрушения начались. Нажмем еще раз. О! Скажите, что это выход. Нет? Хорошо. Еще. Надо же, тут уже цветы расти начали. Трава. Забавно. А сейчас-то что было? Куда все пропало? Что это за звуки? Вы что, в хоррор попали? Кнопка сломалась. Есть выход. Да неужели? Что это? И все?
How long was I sitting there? Stanley wondered to himself. Minutes? Days? Centuries? Did something crucial happen while my senses were turned? He made a note to be more careful with time from now on.
О, вывеска, новый контент. Короче. Нет. Почему? Не глюки. Из-за кнопки пропустить мы отмотали слишком много времени. Так. Я, наверное, пожалуй, пока туда не пойду.
When Stanley came to a set of two open doors,
Мы пойдем
this
направо.
was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly.
Короче, это старый контент. Это тот, который был еще изначально в 2013. Но тут добавили кое-что нового. Вот, например, Firewatch и Rocket League. Это не было.
Well,
Этого не
perhaps he
было.
wanted to stop by the employee lounge first,
Rocket
just
League,
to
по-моему, туда
admire
не
it.
выходила еще в 2013.
And here it was, the lounge. What a room! But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
Если я не ошибаюсь, там больше же некуда было идти. Мы когда спрыгнули, зашли в синюю дверь. Синяя дверь нас вела вот в новую игру только и все. Поэтому, наверное, есть смысл сейчас
And so he detoured through the maintenance
подняться
section, walked straight ahead to the
на
opposite
лифте
door, and got back on track.
или опуститься, куда он там. Куда он нас отправит?
But Stanley didn't want to go back to the office. He wanted to wander about and get even further off track. So now in order to get back, he needed to go, from here it's, left.
А что, остальные двери закрыты? Угу. Хорошо.
Oh, no, it's to the right, my
Да
mistake.
ты угораешь, что ли, надо мной?
No, not the right. Why would I have ever said it was to the right? What was I thinking? It's clearly... Oh dear, would you hold on for a minute, please?
Куда идти?
Now, let's see. We went down right, left, down, left, right. Yep, okay, yes. I've got it now. This story is absolutely, definitely this way.
Что здесь?
No, 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 no. This isn't right at all. You're not supposed to be here yet. This is all a spoiler. Quick, Stanley, close your eyes. Okay. We just have to get back to, oh, who am I kidding? It's all rubbish now. The whole story completely unusable. How about, rather than waste my time trying to salvage this nonsense, we'll just restart the game from the beginning. And this time, suppose we don't wander so far off track, Okay, from the top.
Да блин.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. When Stanley... Wait, what?
А что
No,
дверей так много стало?
No, I restarted. I swear I definitely restarted the game over, completely fresh. Everything should be... Oh, did something change? Stanley, did you change anything when we were back in that room with all the monitors? Did you move the story somewhere or... Hold on. Why am I asking you? I'm the one who wrote the story. It was right here just a minute ago. I know for sure that it's here somewhere. Okay, then. It's an adventure. Come, Stanley. Let's find the story.
В какую дверь пойти? Давай направо. Это лабиринт? Что здесь? Да вы что, издеваетесь, что ли?
I'll say it. This is the worst adventure I've ever been on. I can promise you there definitely was a story here before. Do we need to restart the game again? Well, I find it unlikely that we'll ever progress by starting over and over again, but it's got to be better than this. Okay, let's give it a shot. Why not?
Эй, блин, я же хотел пройти. Зараза.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Ладно, хорошо.
Okay, yep.
Тут дверей вообще нет.
I might be remembering this wrong. It's possible the story is back where we just came from. Why don't we go back the other direction and see if we missed anything?
Пойдем. Закрыто. Тут вроде ничего такого нет.
Aha! I knew we'd miss something. The story. Here it comes. No, wait. Never mind. Not the story. Okay, let's head back the other way and retrace our steps.
Хорошо. Тут что, пожар был?
Now this... Well, I'll be honest. I don't recognize this place at all. Is this the story? I don't think so. I can't quite recall, but I believe my story took place in an office building. Is that correct? Do you remember, Stanley? Well, do you know what? Since I've completely forgotten what we were supposed to be doing, how about this?
Двери нет
You
больше.
win! Congratulations! I know you put in a lot of hard work, and it really paid off, so good job. Oh, no. No, I don't feel right about this at all. We both know you didn't put in any actual work for that win. Some people win fair and square, and this was not one of those situations. Okay, I'm getting weirded out by whatever this place is. I don't care what might happen this time, I have to restart.
Ты задолбал перезапускать.
All right, I've got a solution.
Линия.
This time, to make sure we don't get lost, I've employed the help of the Stanley Parable Adventure Line. Just follow the line. How simple is that?
Хорошо, ладно. Линия так линия. Почему она ведет куда-то не туда? Что происходит?
You see, the line knows where the story is. It's over in this direction. Onward, Stanley, to destiny. Though, here's a thought. Wouldn't wherever we end up be our destination, even if there's no story there? Or to put it another way, is the story of no destination still a story? Simply by the act of moving forward, are we implying a
тут есть
journey
проход.
such that a destination is inevitably conjured into being via the very manifestation
Ладно.
of the nature of life itself?
Пойдем
Okay,
по линии.
Stanley, I need to follow this train of thought for a minute. Just stick with me. Now, we can both agree that the nature of existence is in fact a byproduct of one's subjective experience of that existence, right? Okay.
Закрыто.
Now, if my experience of your existence rests inside of your subjective experience of this office, is this office in fact the skeleton of my own relative experiential mental subjective construct? Whoa. Hang on. That got a bit weird back there. Well, I'd like to apologize. Not sure where I was going with all that. You know what?
Ты что
I
тут?
think what we need right now
Ридлер
is a
был.
bit of music to lighten the mood.
Вам не кажется, что это слишком громко? Я чуть не оглох.
Wait, cut the music, go back and look at that fern.
Папоротник.
Stanley, this fern will be very important later in the story. Make sure you study it closely and remember it carefully. You won't want to miss anything.
Хорошо.
Wait, what? We're back at the office? No. Line, you do know we're looking for the Stanley Parable, right? The story? Is any of this ringing a bell?
О,
Oh, no, not again. Line, how could you have done this to us? And after we trusted you, after everything we've been through, you... Oh, I can't take this anymore. To hell with it. Restart.
ты задолбал.
You know what, Stanley? I say forget the adventure line. What's it ever done for us? We're intelligent people, right? Why can't we make up our own story? Something exciting, daring, mysterious. Ooh, this all sounds perfectly doable. Why don't we simply start wandering in, well, I don't know. How about this direction?
Ладно, пойдем сюда, посмотрим, что тут. Раз
Now,
уж...
yes, this is exciting. Just me and Stanley forging a new path, a new story. Well, it could be anything. What do you want our story to be? Go wild. Use your imagination. Whatever it might be, Stanley,
Да
I'm
блин.
ready for it.
О, есть проход.
Oh, no, not you again. Stanley, I'd also like to veto the line from having any role in our awesome new story. No lines or monitor rooms. Just don't acknowledge it, and we should be fine.
Хорошо. Ушла куда-то.
Ah, a choice. We get to make a decision. From here, the story is in our control. How important we mustn't squander the opportunity. In fact, I believe I need a minute to think here. Just walk in circles for a minute. Okay, so I know that each door has to lead somewhere, which means that somewhere, the place where we're trying to go, there must be a reverse door that leads here. And that in turn means that our destination corresponds with the counter-inverted reverse door's origin. So starting from the right, let us ask, will taking the right door lead us to where we're going? And since the answer is clearly yes, then by all accounts, the door on the right is the correct one. Another victory for logic. Come, Stanley, our destiny awaits.
Вы играли в запутанную концовку в течение 17 минут.
The confusion ending. You're telling me
Первый
that's
перезапуск,
what this
второй.
is? It's all one giant ending? And we're supposed to restart the game, what, eight times? That's really how all this goes?
Это ачивки?
It's all determined? So now, according to the schedule, I restart again. Then what? Am I just supposed to forget? Well, what if I don't want to forget? My mind goes blank simply because it's written here on this thing, wall. Well, who consulted me? Why don't I get to decide? Why don't I get a say in all of this? Is it really? No, it can't be. I don't want it to be. I don't want the game to keep restarting. I don't want to forget what's going on. I don't want to be trapped like this. I won't restart the game. I won't do it. I won't do it. I won't do it. And the timer stopped? Does that mean, did we do it? Did we break the cycle? The, whatever it is that made this schedule? How would we even know? Will someone come for us? Will something happen? So, okay. I guess now we just wait. You know, I suppose in some way that this is a kind of story, wouldn't you agree? I'm not quite sure if we're in the destination or the journey, though they're always saying that life is about the journey and not the destination, so I hope that's where we are right now. We'll find out, won't we? Eventually. Well, in the meantime, if you...
Что это было?
How long was I sitting there? Stanley wondered to himself. Minutes? Days? Centuries? Did something crucial happen while my senses were turned? He made a note to be more
Нас
careful with
сбросило
time from now on.
к новому контенту. Так, ну нам
When Stanley came to a set of two open doors, this was not the
Еще раз
correct way
идти
to the
направо.
meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first,
Сейчас
just to
посмотрим.
admire it.
И зайдем туда, где
okay.
написано «выход».
But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
Так,
And
мы
so
идем
he
сюда.
detoured through the maintenance section, walked straight ahead to the opposite door, and got back on track. Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office. Coming to a
Так,
staircase,
идем
Stanley walked
по
upstairs
сюжету.
to his boss's office. Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. What could it mean? Stanley was in such a rush to get through the story as quickly as possible, he didn't even have a single minute to just let the narrator talk. That kind of anxiety isn't healthy, so he relaxed for a few moments with some calming New Age music.
Да какая музыка-то, блин. Открой
Feeling
дверь.
soothed and rejuvenated, Stanley calmly walked forward into the opened passageway. Stanley walked straight ahead
Вот.
through the large door that read
Выход.
Mind Control Facility.
Побег.
Although this passageway had the word escape written on it, the truth was that at the end of this hall, Stanley would meet his violent death.
В смысле мучительная смерть?
The door behind him was not shut. Stanley still had every opportunity to turn around and get back on track. At this point, Stanley was making a conscious, concerted effort to walk forward and willingly confront his death.
И что тут? Ну давай прыгать. Что происходит?
As the machine whirred into motion and Stanley was inched closer and closer to his demise, he reflected that his life had been of no consequence whatsoever. Stanley can't see the bigger picture. He doesn't know the real story, trapped forever in his narrow vision of what this world is. Perhaps his death was of no great loss, like plucking the eyeballs from a blind man. And so he resigned and willingly accepted this violent end to his brief and shallow life. Farewell, Stanley.
Нет.
Farewell, Stanley, cried the narrator, as Stanley was led helplessly into the enormous metal jaws. In a single visceral instant, Stanley was obliterated as the machine crushed every bone in his body, killing him instantly.
Нет. Я живой? Я живой.
And yet it would be just a few minutes before Stanley would restart the game, back in his office, as alive as ever. What exactly did the narrator think he was going to accomplish?
Это что?
When every path you can walk has been created for you long in advance, death becomes meaningless, making life the same. Do you see now? Do you see that Stanley was already dead from the moment he
Картины
hit start?
природы. Компьютер Стэнли. План офиса. Чертеж показывает схему офиса в начале игры. Дорога от кабинета Стэнли до двух дверей была сделана самой первой. Затем по ходу разработки разные части офиса добавлялись и изменялись, но базовая схема осталась почти без изменений. Ага, ясно. Коридор. Мы пытались подобрать правильный ритм для начала игры, поэтому перемещали и изменяли коридор, чтобы игрок доходил до двух дверей за нужное время. Хорошо. Две двери. Две открытые двери были первым и основным элементом дизайна The Stanley Parable. Вся остальная игра во многом выросла вокруг этой комнаты, стала следствием выбора, который она давала. Шкафчики с бумагами. Офисные компьютеры. Офис. Звук кнопок. Такие звуки издают кнопки, которые вы нажимаете в игре. Каждый из них смесь звука клавиш на клавиатуре с синтезированным тоном. Дизайн моделей, иллюстрации. Понятно, авторы. Так, в какую сторону? Офис. Служебная комната. Ранее версия служебной комнаты. Угу. Объявление о версии Ultra Deluxe. В декабре 2018 мы анонсировали версию Ultra Deluxe для The Stanley Parable на выставке The Game Awards. Это скриншот из видео, который мы сделали по случаю анонса и последующих задержек. Если я не ошибаюсь, в оригинале заканчивался этот момент тем, что нас реально пресс давил. Видимо, здесь они решили нам музей сделать. Поле битвы. На ранней стадии разработки мы сделали концовку, в которой Стэнли сражался с пришельцами. Игра обретала разум и начинала сражаться с рассказчиком. Но мы довольно быстро поняли, что эта концовка слишком фарсовая и выбивается из общей атмосферы игры. К тому же некоторые посчитали, что мы издеваемся над любителями шутеров. А мы этого не хотели. Угу. Комната отдыха. Ранняя версия комнаты отдыха. Но она не сильно поменялась. Хотя нет, поменялась. Офис. Так. Что? Письма рассказчику. Выкатив второй трейлер, мы просили игроков отправлять рассказчику их вопросы. Мы хотели использовать их для продвижения, но так и не придумали, как именно. Вот некоторые из этих писем. Серьезно? Что делают лампочки в комнате контроля? Контрол-рум. Хм. У меня скелет. Внутри меня находится скелет. Так, интересно. Что это? Кабинет Стэнли. Слева направо представлены разные варианты кабинета Стэнли. Первый был создан в ноябре 2011, второй в марте 2012, третий в феврале 2013. Хорошо. Окей. Набросок игрового дизайна. Этот уровень, который Уильям, дизайнер уровней, отправил Дэйви, сценаристу, как тестовое задание. Уровень был такой крутой, что Уильяма наняли работать над всей игрой. Многие элементы окружения изменились, но базовые принципы из этого наброска применяются до сих пор. Угу. Это что? Лифт в комнате с мониторами. Какое-то время лифт в комнате с монитором мог двигаться вверх, свобода, и вниз, обратный отсчет. Мы решили объединить концовки, когда выяснилось, что игрокам сложно запомнить, что вверху, а что внизу. Комната, обратный отсчет. Ранняя версия комнаты с обратным отсчетом. Концовка свобода. Из бета-версии. Стол, обратный отсчет. Какое-то время лифт в комнате с монитором мог двигаться вверх и вниз. Мы решили объединить концовки, что... Угу, понятно. А мы одну из концовок не видели. Так, я так понимаю, там дальше выход. Концовка свобода. Первая реализация концовки свободы из альфа-версии. Хорошо. Кабинет начальника. Скриншоты разных версий кабинета начальника. Как бы странно не звучало, но мне нравится первый вариант. Ну ладно. Офисные часы. Что здесь? Комната отдыха. Подземная часть. Ранняя версия подземной части игры. Дубли рассказчика. Кевин Брайтнинг, озвучивший рассказчика, примерно трижды записал реплики для всей игры за 2 года разработки. Это отрывки из ранних дублей, которые не вошли в финальную версию. Мгм. Окей. Окей. Неплохо. Голос рассказчика неплохой. Так, мы же все смотрели, получается. Мы ничего не пропустили. Вот эта комната, скорее всего. Грузовой лифт. Вторая версия, по сути, не отличается от той, что вошла в финальную версию, но мы хотели добавить ощущение, что что тут и правда хранятся грузы. Ага. Ну вот этот момент, где нужно было спрыгивать, как раз сделан. Грузовой лифт всегда давал игроку выбор, остаться на нем или спрыгнуть на другую дорожку. Но по ходу разработки мы решили дать игроку возможность разбиться насмерть. Мгм. Таймер в квартире. В прошлой версии концовки в квартире таймер давал игроку 15 секунд, чтобы взять трубку. Если игрок не брал ее за это время, то получал другую концовку. А мы как-то, по-моему, даже и не ждали, просто схватили трубку. Переговорочная. Схема служебных помещений. Очень важно было правильно сделать коридоры за первыми двумя дверями, ведь игроки должны были столько по ним ходить. Мы обсуждали несколько вариантов дизайна, но выиграл в итоге самый простой. О, смотри-ка. Смотри-ка. А, Вентиляция еще была здесь. Тут еще выход есть какой-то to confusion ending. Это, видимо, наверное, тот, где перезапускалось кучу раз. Что это? Модель дзен-концовки. Дзен-концовка претерпела немало изменений. В этой комнате представлена 4-я версия концовки, и мы думали, что закончились, но незадолго до релиза решили частично вырезать и частично изменить. Что за дзен-концовка? Походу, мы ее не видели. На скриншоте ранняя версия дзен-концовки, которую в итоге порезали и объединили с другой частью игры. Мы ее не получали. Рычаги дзен-концовки. Игрок тянул рычаги, рассказчик описывал, какого именно они были цвета. Это что? Мы выпустили 4 больших трейлера по ходу разработки. Каждый из них рассказывал что-то о духе игры. Это первый. Он вышел в мае 2012. В нем была серия поломанных комнат и голос рассказчика, который сообщал зрителям, что он чинит новую версию Stanley Parable. А звук? Звук. Я, по-моему, даже помню этот ролик. Если я не ошибаюсь, многие думали, что игра похожа на Portal, потому что в них есть общие какие-то механики. Меню паузы. У нас долгое время была концовка, которую можно было получить, перезапустив игру из меню паузы. К сожалению, очень мало игроков понимали, что надо было сделать, и это всех расстраивало. Есть концовка, чтобы перезапустить. Я не хочу пробовать. Хотя, наверное, стоит. Но мы же все видели. Так, как отсюда выйти? Вот выход.
Oh, look at these two. How they wish to destroy one another. How they wish to control one another. How they both wish to be free.
Я что-то дернул.
Can you see how much they need one another? No, perhaps not. Sometimes these things cannot be seen. But listen to me. You can still save those two. You can stop the program before they both fail. Push escape and press quit. There's no other way to beat this game. As long as you move forward, you'll be walking someone else's path.
Чё? Предлагает выйти из игры?
Stop now and it'll be your only true choice. Whatever you do, choose it. Don't let time choose for you. Don't let...
А,
A soft wind blew outside and perhaps rain started, and if it did, it stopped shortly after. Stanley hoped that he would one day see weather.
так, ну раз есть концовка, начать игру заново. Давай посмотрим. Нет?
Stanley decided to go to the meeting room to check on his co-workers. He never functioned well by himself and constantly needed support and guidance from others, so the thought of total solitude was terrifying to him.
А в новом контенте что
Oh,
теперь?
good. You notice my sign. Yes, I have something very exciting to show you.
Что он придумал? Мы же идем по старому маршруту.
You see, Stanley, I've been reflecting on the Stanley Parable and about how roundly disappointing this ultra deluxe version has turned out to be. The original Stanley Parable was a landmark, and any new content for it should live up to that legacy. So forget this ultra deluxe nonsense. I say we take it one step even further. Which is why I'm very proud to announce for the first time ever the Stanley Parable 2.
Вторая часть.
Yes, you see, isn't this far superior to a measly re-release with a few minor additions? Think of all the new territory we'll cover with a fully fledged sequel. An entirely new experience, built from the ground up. Why, there are so many possibilities. It could go in so many different directions. This is what fans have truly been asking for.
Показ для инвесторов.
Calling it the Stanley Parable 2 is just so much catchier than Ultra Deluxe, don't you think? Ultra Deluxe? What does it even mean? But the Stanley Parable 2, now that's an artistic statement right there. It's future-oriented. It screams progress and innovation and long-term franchising potential.
Блин, они везде добавили 2. Они воткнули цифру 2 в картину. 2 постера висят. Цифра 2 здесь. 2 красных стула. 2 ящика. Тут 2 постера. Тут опять 2 стула. Тут, походу, тоже что-то, наверное, с 2 связанное, нет? Что это? 2 кулера с водой. Чего? Только 2 из нас могут сделать это, если попытаемся. Ты и я. Что происходит? Две двери вернуться. Два полушария. Опять этот папоротник. Так а как запустить-то? Где презентация для инвесторов? Хотя я уже заплатил за
Now,
игру.
to be clear, I haven't quite nailed down what exactly the Stanley Parable 2 is going to be, but let's take a look at some of the features I've been developing for it. I figure that if I can loosely organize a handful of interesting concepts, that surely the game will sort of naturally spring up around them. It'll all work itself out. Game development is much more of a fuzzy magic than anything scientific or logical, really.
Сиквелы, которые... хорошие сиквелы. Portal 2, Half-Life 2, Batman Arkham Asylum 2, Divinity Original Sin, Doom 2. Это надо заскринить. Aladdin 2, Возвращение Джафара, Dark Souls 2. Ну вот многие люди с этим не согласны. Doom 2, да. Doom 2 хорош. Да что такое? Везде двойки. Тут даже палочки вон. Каждая кнопка паузы это цифра 2. Офигеть. Чего? И сиквел. Новые фишки. Даже интересно стало. 2 коробки стоят. Новый контент. Что
Here we
происходит?
are. Go on, try out some of the new features.
Попробуй сиквел. Кнопка, которая называет имя игрока, играющего в игру. Услышь свое имя в игре?
For the Stanley Parable 2,
В смысле? Он
I
работает?
asked myself, what do players really want? And of course, the first and most obvious answer is that they want to be individually recognized and validated as people. So with that in mind, my first
Не понял.
addition to the game is this
Странно.
button which speaks the name of the person playing the game. Isn't that wonderful?
Дорога к первоклассной кнопке. Слишком большая, слишком маленькая. Рестрайт. Так. Серьезно? Он назовет имя? Мне кажется, что это...
Sorry, I should have clarified. Right now, the button only says the name Jim. But of course, in the final game, this button will say your name, whatever name that is. Here, let's have you role-play as Jim to really simulate the full experience of this
Зачем нас
feature.
обманывают?
Just play along. I promise you'll love it. Okay, here we go. Let's take a deep breath, clear your mind, forget whoever you are, and simply become a person named Jim. I want you to imagine yourself living as Jim, sleeping and waking as Jim, falling in love and being heartbroken as Jim, seizing all of the world's possibilities as Jim, and as Jim watching your dreams crumble into dust. Do you feel it deeply? Are you really, truly Jim right now? If so, then please step forward and press the button.
Jim.
Yes! You see? What a thrill! What a rush! That was you! The button described you. Do it again, do it again.
Еще раз. Ты что, издеваешься, что ли?
Jim.
It hits even harder the second time. If this were the only new feature in the Stanley Parable 2, it would still be worth the money. Let's take a break from the Jim button. I'm too emotionally drained from all of this personal validation.
А можно нажать еще раз?
Whoa there, cowboy. Sometimes a person can be too much Jim. I'm putting the Jim button away. Otherwise,
смысле?
soon you'll start to lose all sense of who
Эй,
you
она
actually
укатывается.
are. I suppose I could allow only people named Jim to play the Stanley Parable 2. That would actually save me the work of finishing this feature.
Никаких скриншотов. Это что?
Okay, I'll be honest, I haven't yet decided on this one. I think that in the new version, the office could use a bit of decoration, like balloons. But I'm undecided on Get Well Someday and Happy 12th Birthday. Which would you go with?
Открой дверь. А, сюда надо пройти. Выбрать надо, какой шарик взять. Давай белый.
You know, sometimes when you solicit another person's opinion, it makes you realize that you knew which one you actually really wanted all along. Happy 12th birthday, step-niece, it is.
Ну и ладно. Не больно-то и хотелось.
Or actually, maybe I should have gone with... No, I've made my decision, we're moving on.
Ребенок вырос. Это что, эпилог?
An epilogue would be fun, wouldn't it, Stanley? Yes, it would go at the end of the... well, we'll figure that out later.
Так, надеюсь, это не выход. Чемпион мира по настройкам, бесконечная дыра. Халявное достижение. Ну-ка. Можно ли получить халявное достижение? Дернуть рычаг, получить свою ачивку. Хорошо.
Now, here's something special. You remember that broken test achievement that got left in the game on accident? Well, I'm developing a technology to simply give you the achievement. Yes. You see, you'll come to this lever, and when you pull it, the achievement will be given to you. It's as simple as that.
Ну, давай попробуем.
Okay, perhaps I should have clarified. This is technology that will exist. Right now, the achievement is still fully broken. I'm not a wizard, Stanley, but I guarantee it will be fixed in the sequel to at last satisfy the hordes of ravenous fans all over the world who have been uproariously demanding this feature. Gamers, we hear you, and I promise it will happen.
Блин. Засранцы. Нас обманули.
What else? What other exhibits haven't we seen yet?
Что это? Здесь мы были уже. Собиралки. Экспо Холл 2. Мерч, эпилог. Так. Куда идти? Collect them all. Собиралки.
Ah, collectibles. Now it's a real video game. In the Stanley Parable 2, you'll run around gathering up these miniature Stanley figurines. And what's truly innovative is that there will be no reward for collecting all of them. I don't want to stifle the intrinsic joy of watching a number go up. You simply collect all of them, and then you move the hell on with your unremarkable life.
О, блин, классно сделано. Одна из 6. Вы что, стебетесь, что ли?
God, it really is the worst when you collect everything in a video game and then they give you a big fancy reward for it. Absolutely tragic.
Так, Jump Circle.
You know what? Let's bring the jump circle back for Stanley Parable 2 as well. It's... Oh, wait. You already spent all your jumps the first time we saw the jump circle. Oh well. I suppose it can just be a nice decorative piece then.
Так, а наверху-то что было? Чемпион мира по настройкам. Так, а что такое? А, я думал, может, в настройки надо было залезть? Нет. Вот тут у нас что-то было еще.
Stanley, here's an idea that I'm truly fond of. It's never been done before in a video game. This is, in fact, a hole that you can fall down forever. That's right. Infinite falling. You can fall until the end of time, if you like. A stunning leap forward for video games as a medium.
Не, ну мы, наверное, не будем туда прыгать. Бесконечная дыра. Они реально сделали бесконечную дыру? Я не хочу проверять. Я еще не все посмотрел. А что за лестница наверх? А, закрыто. Ясненько. Где-то мы что-то пропустили еще, поэтому надо посмотреть. Потом уже к этой дыре идти, мне кажется. Вот это вот. Мусорное ведро. Успокаивающее ведро.
A common complaint of the Stanley Parable was that it was confusing and paradoxical, that it engendered a chaotic sense of reckless despair in those who played it. Well, I'm happy to say that after much consideration, I've engineered a clever solution to this fundamental problem with the game. It's the Stanley Parable Reassurance Bucket. You see, Stanley, anytime you're holding the bucket, a sense of calm and ease will fill your mind and your heart. It's true. As long as you hold on to the bucket, the many disorienting contradictions of the Stanley Parable will feel perfectly normal and perhaps even comforting. You may even come to long for the gentle embrace of jarring cognitive dissonance while the bucket is in your arms. And to be honest, it's a much more convenient solution for me than actually redesigning the game to be less uncomfortable. Can you imagine what a pain in the ass that would be? Yes, the bucket is the perfect solution. Come on, give it a try. Can you feel it? The glow of comfort, even in the face of crushing despair, must already be sweeping through your body. And in fact, can I say that I do believe the bucket lends you an air of charisma as well? I think that just holding it has made you the slightest bit more attractive as a person. The benefits of the bucket seem to go on, don't they? All this and more await you in the Stanley Parable 2.
Так и что нам делать с этим ведром?
Does anyone give out awards for most enjoyable bucket in a video game? That really should be an award if it isn't already.
Все, теперь можно идти в дыру. Загадка дыры. Идем.
You see, isn't it wonderful? One of my more ingenious concoctions, if I do say so. Now then, since you've gotten to see the infinite hole, you can press the teleport button to pop back up to the top, and we can continue onward. Great. Now, I'm very excited to show you even more of my ideas for the sequel.
Мы же все посмотрели. Выпустите нас. Что еще могло остаться? Выход. Е. Здесь, что ли? Да.
All right. Have you seen everything you wanted to? Ready to move on now? So, Stanley, what do you think? Do you like all of the new features? Yes, I know it's not exactly clear yet how exactly these features will come together as one single coherent video game, but I can feel it in my soul. It's going to work. There's definitely a good game in there somewhere. Say, let's do an experiment. I'll arrange these new features together, and we'll see whether or not it coheres into a meaningful gameplay experience. Okay. Are you ready? Here it is. I give you The Stanley Parable 2. I mean, there's potential here, right? It's sort of... Okay, never mind. Hold on. Let me do a different arrangement. Okay, yes, this is much better. I feel good about this. Here we go. Version 2. Who am I kidding, Stanley? This isn't a coherent video game at all. It's a lot of gags. And I do very much enjoy creating gags, but they don't add up to anything. I wanted more than anything to create a sequel that would capture all the magic of the first game. I wanted fans to love it. No matter how good these gags are, they won't stand on their own. They would need the structure and the gameplay of the original. Wait, maybe that's it. I can take the original Stanley Parable and simply, well, insert a few of my new features into it. Tastefully, of course. With respect. With care for the vision and integrity of the original game. Would it possibly work? I suppose it could. But it would need a really, really tremendous title screen. A title screen that says with bold and uncompromising conviction, "This is the Stanley Parable 2. Let me see if I can whip something up. All right, perfect. Go ahead. Take a look.
Чё? В смысле? Как это? Да вы угораете, походу.
This is the story of a man named Stanley. Stanley worked for a company in a big building where he was employee number 427. Employee number 427's job was simple. He sat at his desk in room 427 and he pushed buttons on a keyboard. Orders came to him through a monitor on his desk, telling him what buttons to push, how long to push them, and in what order.
Все, мы это видели. А что поменялось?
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Шарики эти добавились.
Stanley felt the bucket calling to him, begging him to pick it up.
Ведро?
Why was he not doing it? Stanley picked up the bucket. Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left.
Что происходит?
Still no one was here. Stanley needed the bucket's warmth and comfort now more than ever. Perhaps his boss's office was where he'd find answers. Coming to a staircase, Stanley and the bucket walked upstairs to the boss's office. Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Crushed by the weight of this revelation, Stanley may have broken down into an emotional dumpster fire if not for the soothing presence of the bucket. Even now, in his darkest of hours, did the bucket's warmth and guiding light pierce the dark clouds of confusion and chaos. It would be with him always. The bucket would, and he knew it. The two of them were inseparable. At this point, Stanley was so absorbed in the tender spiritual connection he shared with the bucket that he didn't notice the keypad behind the boss's desk. Nor in his bliss of simply being near the bucket did he have any notion that the PIN number for the keypad was 2845. But Stanley guessed the correct code by sheer luck. Was it that the bucket knew all along? Was the bucket guiding him? Yes, this is certainly the most logical explanation. The elevator raced downward, plummeting towards an unknown fate. It would be all Stanley could do to keep himself together, if not for the bucket. Soothing him, comforting him, reassuring that in this darkest moment of uncertainty, he would be all right. The bucket is here for you, Stanley. Everything will be fine. Stanley and the bucket walked straight ahead through the large door that read, Mind Control Facility.
Не знаю, зачем заново перепроходить это надо. Ну ладно.
The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley and the bucket both wondered to themselves. The monitors jumped to life, and Stanley nearly dropped the bucket in shock. Everyone in the office was being videotaped, monitored like guinea pigs. The bucket had never seen anything like this, and it very nearly burst into tears as Stanley cradled it gently, reassuring it that everything would be fine. Was the bucket under the mind control facility's influence as well? Had the bucket been told to do things it didn't wish to do? What kinds of things does a bucket want to do or not want to do in the first place? These questions raced furiously in Stanley's feeble mind. No! He screamed into the bucket. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control, never! He squeezed the bucket tighter, his one friend in the entire world. At this point, he could trust no one except for the bucket. But here was the proof. The heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions, happy or sad or content. Walking, eating, working, all of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over another human life. For he and the bucket would dismantle the controls for good. Two best friends, Stanley and the bucket, up against the world.
А если
They
нажать?
high-fived in a really cool way. The bucket made a sassy comment
Если включить.
about taking down the system. But at the last second, the bucket jumped in and pressed the button to turn on the controls. Stanley gasped in horror. Had this been the bucket's plan all along? To take over the machine and claim the power for itself? How could the bucket have betrayed him like this? Stanley was prepared to throw the bucket away in disgust when suddenly an image appeared upon the enormous screen. Birds. Silly, silly birds. The control buttons became active again. Stanley flipped through one video of silly birds after another, and then it dawned on him. This wasn't a mind control facility at all. It was a facility for monitoring and surveilling silly birds all over the world. The mind controls were only a facade to disguise its true intentions. Had the bucket known this all along? Stanley marveled at the metal genius in his hands, the one who had pointed him towards this incredible discovery. Stanley and the bucket never found freedom because they spent the rest of their lives here in this place, flipping through live streams of the silliest birds imaginable. Of all the possible paths his life could have taken, this one was surely the best. And Stanley was happy.
Нифига, сколько тут всего. Еще одна из концовок. Ладно, на этой ноте я, наверное, закончу. И если есть еще желающие посмотреть, какие у нас есть варианты, можно постримить в другой раз. Я еще не все выбил. Вот, я поэтому предполагаю, что есть смысл сделать еще один стрим. Я потому что не знаю, как там дальше будет и что там дальше будет. Я сейчас ради интереса выйду. Сиквел на паузе. Я выйду, посмотрю. Да, очень странно. Все? Я вышел? Есть, я вышел. Так, итоги игры. Я получил 3 ачивки из 11. Ваше первое достижение. Описание тестового достижения заменить. Выйдите из игры, а потом снова войдите. Играйте в Stanley Parable весь вторник. Какие-то 8. Нажмите на дверь 435 раз. Пройдите игру за 4 минуты 22 секунды без учета времени загрузок. Чемпион мира по настройкам. Передвиньте ползунки настроек меню на все возможные значения. Перерыв так перерыв. Не играйте в The Stanley Parable 10 лет. Короче, все это круто. Можно попробовать еще поиграть. Вот. Но сделаем это в следующий раз. Так, я не знаю. В следующий раз у нас, наверное, будет только... Когда, Саш? Во вторник? Во вторник, говорю, 2-го? 1 числа у нас дома не будет, поэтому 2 мая мы вернемся. И стрим, соответственно, вернется 2 мая. Так что всем спасибо за то, что смотрели. Всем хорошего уже ночи. Всем хорошей ночи. Вот. Увидимся в понедельник. Все. Пока-пока.